Hi there, Christy Glass here, coming to you on YouTube today. I've been working on a series of videos about fiber inspiration, and this is the third video I am making about fiber inspiration. I will link to the other ones underneath this video as well, so you can check them out. I just have a few sweaters I want to show you today, just to kind of give you some ideas of how to think about your knitting and your crochet. I want to start out with what I'm wearing. This is a vest that I saw a photo of in the Long or Lang, L-A-N-G publication. It was kind of an older publication. It was actually an ad I saw in Vogue Knitting magazine, a very old version. And then I was able to track down the photo of it in an actual Long or Lang, however you want to pronounce it, brochure. But it wasn't a pattern, it was just a photo. And it was a vest with this mohair coming out of the vest. It was so cool. And I'm really into mohair and mixing mohair, so I decided to challenge myself to figure this out. So I did knit a vest. I used a pattern that I found on Ravelry as the basis of the vest, but really what this is all about is the mohair. So I wanted to just kind of show you close up all of this fun mohair happening. I just got all my mohair out, and it was kind of like a painting. I put it on my dress form and just started painting with my mohair. Putting this mohair onto the vest actually probably took longer than knitting the vest, just to give you an idea of how hard I worked on it. I'm really proud of this fiber creation. So kind of keeping in that category, I want to show you this piece. So this is a sweater that actually came to me mostly knit already. The front and the back were completely knitted, and this came from a friend's mother's attic or storage. She just had never finished the sweater. So I didn't have a pattern. I just had a little bit of the yarn left, and I had to kind of figure out how to put it together. So I put together the front and the back. I added a little ribbing to create sort of a finished look on the collar. And then I decided to add these sleeves. Now these sleeves were totally inspired by a photo that I saw of a pattern that was soon to be released, which I don't believe has ever been released, but it was uncanny because it was like a peachy, cable-y sweater with this sleeve that totally did not match it at all. It was like two different sweaters had been cut apart and put together. And the sleeves had kind of a rainbow color. So on one side I did an intarsia, and this intarsia was so intense because it was so many colors that I was done by one row. I pictured doing the whole sleeve with many, many triangles, but I was like, nope, that's good. And then the other side, I used the same wool and I created a crochet sleeve. This sleeve is quite a bit tighter, so I really should rip it out and do it again. But I just wanted to show you how much fun you can have with, maybe there's a sweater at a thrift store, or like in my case, a sweater that hasn't quite been finished, but you just get to spend a little bit of time on it, making it your own. I do think there could be lots of fun with embroidering on this or double stitching. And so I wanted to show you that, just to give you a little piece of joy and inspiration for sweaters that were sort of left undone, those UFOs out there. One of my favorite patterns, I've actually knit this twice, is from Two of Wands. It's called the Winter's League Pullover. It's such a great basic sweater, and the detail that I love the most is this little X right here. It's so cute. So I decided to try to ice dye my sweater. I knit the whole thing cream, and then I ice dyed it with some dyes. Now, I am unhappy with the dye because it's so pale, and I don't know what I did wrong with dyeing because I'm not an expert on dyeing. If I had to do this again and it would be vibrant and bright and like amazing like the tie-dye that I do, I think I would be in love with this sweater. The only ice dyeing I've done is on cotton, and this is wool. So I'm wondering if I did this again, if I should do it on a cotton. I'm sure all of the dyers out there know how to solve the problem, but I just wanted to share with you the idea of dyeing a sweater after you've already knit it. How fun. This sweater is a pattern that I used on Ravelry. It's called Strathcona by Tara-Lynn Morrison. So I finished the sweater, and as I was knitting it, I was just knitting in different wools, like scraps of Christmas colors wool. So then I inside outed it. I turned it inside out, and I added more to it. So I wanted it to kind of look scrappy. You can see here, very, very scrappy on the back, kind of like that Alone Together sweater that Lark Bagger put out there, and it looks awesome. But then I decided to add a little more. So I added some buttons here. These are some felt buttons. I added some paillettes and some sequins and a little bit of glitter ribbon I wove in there. I added a little heart. So this was just me taking a very basic pattern, taking it up a notch by not only adding the scraps, but also adding these extra details to make it extra. Now, you've seen these on my channel before, but they need to have their moment. So here is a very challenging pattern that I waited a long time to take on. I love it. It's this beautiful sweater. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's Brooklyn Tweed, and it might even be Oregon. But what's fun about this sweater that I wanted to show you is I got this wool called Backyard Chicken Collection. I think it's by Hugh Loco. And so I'm like, what am I gonna do with this wool? And so I decided to actually make a chicken with it. So I looked up a chicken on the internet and I embroidered this chicken on the back of this cardigan, which is probably totally crazy, and it took forever, but I'm so proud of it. I feel like it looks very realistic and was a really literal and original way to use this chicken yarn. Like, this yarn was inspired by a chicken, and I think this might even be the chicken. Like, I looked up that breed of chicken. So it's all embroidery, and I even entered it into the county fair, and they would not even judge it because of how messy this is. They took one look at the back and they're like, nope, we're not even judging that. Rude. Speaking of creatures on knitting, I wanted to end with something that did win the first prize at the county fair for felting that year. And this is my Rhinebeck sweater, 2018 maybe, 2017. The unicorn sweater. And this was inspired by, I think it was a Gucci or a Prada sweater I saw with like a cat on it. So I went stash diving and made this fun, I think it's called That 70s Tee sweater, with all these different random stripes. Random, but very specifically picked out to look random. And then I needle felted a unicorn right on the top of it. So this took me hours and hours and hours, probably as much time as the actual sweater to knit. And I'm very proud of it because I looked up a little cartoon of a unicorn and I just imitated it with my little needle felting tip and all of that stabbing. I hope you were inspired by today's video. There's so much you can do with knitting, crocheting, felting, with fiber. The only limit is your imagination. I will link to my other fiber inspiration videos below this video so you can check those out, and I will see you next time here on YouTube. Bye.